Kingdom of the Monkey Planet is a movie I haven't been able to stop thinking about since it came out. It was one of my favorite movies of 2024 and definitely the best big budget sci-fi action movie of the year. I mean, what's even the competition? Frickin' Dune 2? Oh my god, Tom Holland, you can't fight the evil space Nazis, then you'll be just as bad as them.
Johnny, I just drank the worm juice that erases your personality.
Oh no, not the worm juice that destroys your personality. I mean, I guess the Wild Robot was pretty good as well. Like many fans of the Apes series, I was skeptical but optimistic about the prospect of a new series of movies following up where the Caesar trilogy left off. And what I got was more than I could have hoped for. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was one of the best renditions of the classic hero's journey archetype we've seen in a long time. A young hero going on a quest to save his people, learning from a wise sage, and journeying into the belly of the beast to discover hidden truths about the world he never knew, and using that knowledge to guide his people into the future. Combine all of that with an engaging cast of characters, beautiful cinematography, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes proves that sometimes all you need is the simple things done just right, like a wood-fired margarita pizza, or a tasty banana. But beyond those movie-making basics, I think what makes Kingdom of the Apes so unique is the way it builds upon the previous movies to do something that most of these similar Hollywood sci-fi movies aren't able to do in the same way. Because while Kingdom takes place centuries after the Caesar trilogy, and the apes from those movies have now become the dominant species of the whole planet, whereas humans have been reduced to a small feral population, I couldn't stop thinking about the apes from that previous trilogy and the humans from those previous movies. Let me explain why that matters. See, in most typical sci-fi or fantasy movies where you have different species and races all interacting with each other, the fact that there are different species or races doesn't really matter that much to the essential nature of the plot, most of the times. Take, for example, Lord of the Rings. The fact that we have hobbits and dwarves and elves and humans all interacting with each other doesn't really matter that much to the fundamental drama of the plot itself. Imagine if the hobbits were just regular small-town country folk, and the elves were just, naturally graceful and fantastical species of humans, and the dwarves were just short, hairy Scotsmen. Would the fundamental story of Lord of the Rings be all that different? I don't really think so. Okay, don't like me talking about the Peter Jackson movies with anything but fawning praise? Let's take a look at another masterpiece of the sci-fi genre, James Cameron's Avatar. Putting aside all of the tale stuff, would there really change that much about the fundamental drama at the core of the story of Avatar if instead of giant blue aliens, the Na'vi were just another tribe of indigenous native human beings, either on Earth or some other planet? I don't really think so. But then there's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Like basically every other Planet of the Apes movie, the core conflict at the heart of Kingdom is about who will gain dominion over the planet, the apes or the humans.
I must destroy their kind, unless we won't live in cages again.
But in this movie, the apes have been the dominant species for centuries,
It is already their world.
with most humans having been relegated to a small tribe of primitive savages, like in the 68 movie, with still a small enclave of intelligent humans hiding underground in bunkers. Now, if this were any other movie, we would look at the intelligent apes and the intelligent humans, and our brain would basically put them in the same category, both basically just people, but wearing different hats. And when we look at the feral humans, our brain would basically just categorize them as basically just animals who happen to look human. But this time our brain can't do that, because we've seen the previous movies. We've seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where Caesar was the only intelligent ape among a zoo of regular monkeys. We saw him gift intelligence to the other apes and lead them in a revolution in Dawn and War to become the dominant species of the planet. So when we see the apes in Kingdom, we don't think of them as basically just people, because we remember when they were mere animals in the first movies. They might have the same intelligence as humans, but they're not quite the same. This also makes us sympathize more with Proximus when he talks about not wanting the apes to go back in cages.
Humans can never be trusted.
Because to us, it's not an abstraction. We've seen the apes in cages in Rise. We've seen the fight between them and the humans in Dawn and War. We're not just bringing in our understanding of the relationship between man and animal in our world, because we've seen it in this world, in these movies. On the other hand, though, we've seen the fall of humanity throughout the Caesar trilogy. We saw a human civilization that looked basically like ours in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. We saw it fall in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and we saw its last desperate gasps for survival in War. The world in Kingdom of the Apes is exactly the one the Colonel in War sought to prevent.
If we lose, we'll be the last of our kind. It will be a planet of apes.
And that makes us sympathize with May's perspective in the movie, because we know this isn't how the world is supposed to be. Because we've seen it in this series, which makes the scene where May looks upon the feral humans even more heartbreaking. Because we think back on all the human characters we loved or hated from the previous movies and see what's become of them. When we watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, we see the humans and the apes as similar in one category, but also fundamentally different, because we've seen the rise of the apes and the fall of humanity in parallel with each other across the previous movies. This automatically gets us to sympathize with each side's claim to dominion over the planet, which is the entire point of the franchise.
Humans will never give up.
It was ours. That silo was a human place. It was not meant for apes.
What is for apes? Should we go back to silence?
But it's more than that, because our knowledge of the past movies also informs another major theme of the Apes franchise. It's not just about who controls the future, but about who controls the past. You see, in the original 1968 movie, our human protagonist, Taylor, lands on what he thinks is an alien planet ruled by apes.
They live on another planet in another solar system.
But it's only at the end of the movie that he finds out, oh my god, he was wrong. It was Earth all along. But the main antagonist of the movie, Dr. Zaius, had always known that humanity ruled the planet before the apes, and their ruling class hid that knowledge from the rest of the population to justify their own claim to power.
He knew all the time, long before you found your cave. He knew.
What I know of man was written long ago.
Meanwhile, in Kingdom, Proximus also knows that humans used to rule the world, and apes used to live in cages.
In their time, humans were capable of many great things, yes?
He even knows something about Caesar, though it's unclear exactly how much he knows about either. What is clear, though, is that he only cares about those pieces of history or those elements of Caesar's legacy that he can twist to justify his own subjugation of the other apes.
Are we thankful for the words of Caesar? Do we bend our heads?
Now, I don't know about you, but powerful people twisting historical narratives to justify their own claims to power seems like a pretty important and, unfortunately, evergreen topic for sci-fi movies to deal with. And with the Apes franchise, we now see this idea in two different stages of development. In the first movie, Dr. Zaius...
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
In the original movie, Dr. Zaius represents organized religion, or state control over narratives of the past.
But they'll soon be brought to trial for heresy.
Meanwhile, in Kingdom, Proximus represents this idea in an earlier, more primitive stage, more like a charismatic cult leader or tribal chief.
Caesar was first elder. Now, I am Caesar!
Of course, Proximus isn't the only character with only a limited understanding of the true history of the planet of the apes. There's a good title for like a spin-off novel or something. Raka, or Gandalf the Orange, also knows about Caesar. More so, he knew what Caesar stood for. He knew Caesar stood for leadership, compassion, and dignity.
He led with decency, morality, strength, compassion.
Not the Caesar of domination and control that Proximus preaches.
The masks take his name, twist his words.
But Raka doesn't quite know everything. He doesn't know that apes used to be unintelligent and that humans used to be the dominant species.
We believe apes built this as a refuge for humans.
Raka has the feelings, but not all the facts.
They were important to Caesar, so they are important to me.
whereas Proximus has most of the facts, but none of the feelings.
May has come here to claim the tools inside my vault. Tools that make humans strong, that make them dangerous.
And that is what will be Noah's mission in the upcoming movies, I think. Noah starts out not really knowing anything about the real history of the world.
Elders of my village, they made the law. That is everything.
But then, through Raka, he finds out that there used to be this great ape leader called Caesar.
Long before your elders, it was Caesar who taught us what it means to be ape.
But then, through Proximus, he learns that humanity once ruled the planet and oppressed the apes.
They do not understand that this is our time.
And now, Noah is confronted with a group of humans trying to reclaim the planet they see rightfully as theirs, while also knowing that there was once a great ape leader who believed in cooperation between the two kindreds.
There was a time when humans and apes lived side by side.
May similarly started out believing that the apes were just an aberration, a mistake that humanity can still just wipe away.
This is a good life, and you have a chance to be a part of it.
What, and build a world for the apes?
But through her travels with Noah and Raka, she slowly begins to see the apes as more than just an experiment gone wrong, but perhaps as a people with an equal claim to stewardship over this planet as humanity itself.
I came to say goodbye.
Of course, we're not quite there yet. May still flooded the vault, and she still gave the satellite key to the other humans. But can you really blame her? Again, as I said, we're uniquely positioned to sympathize with her and her plight, not just because we're humans, but because we know about the humanity in this timeline, in these movies. Even Noah doesn't fully trust May or humanity by the end.
Proximus was right.
But he also knows that there's no going back to the way things were. So Noah is faced with two options: to either follow in Proximus's path and see the humans as the eternal enemy of the apes,
Humans will never give up. Not until you claim all things.
or the second option, represented by him giving Raka's pendant of Caesar to May, as a token of faith that apes and humans can still live together in peace.
If Raka were here, he would tell us his Caesar had much to say on this. Was he right? Can ape and human live together?
I don't know.
Even after all these centuries, Caesar is still serving as the bridge between man and ape. Fellas, I love this movie. And if we're gonna live in a world of endless sequels and remakes of long-standing franchises, then at least let the movies be like this one. Being able to build upon the work of the previous movies while still maintaining those core fundamentals of what makes a movie or any story great. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes looks better than 90% of major Hollywood blockbusters. It's super efficient at introducing all of its characters, it's serious when it needs to be and funny without being cringy, and I couldn't be more excited about the future of the franchise. I'm slightly disappointed it wasn't a bigger box office hit when it came out, but I'm still glad a sequel is apparently in development. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I encourage you to check it out. You won't be disappointed. And if you have seen the movie, I hope this video gives you something new to think about upon a rewatch. I myself will be boycotting the entire Apes franchise until the raw cut is available on 4K Blu-ray outside the US. What are you afraid of, Wes? You think the Europeans can't handle the raw ball?
Dr.